Your emotions are trying to communicate with you. When you're experiencing negativity, when you're experiencing doubt, when you're experiencing fear, there's a reason why you're being challenged and even triggered. But until you're able to identify what it is that you're feeling, you may struggle with coming up with solutions and moving forward. So with that being said, welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, High Guidance, and that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, because there is no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it doesn't apply, then that means it is not in line, which means it is not for you, so don't force it. As well as grab your pens, grab your paper, and be prepared to take notes. For today's video, we're going to go over and discuss why it's so important to regulate your emotions, how to communicate your emotions with solutions, as well as paying attention to how you feel by validating your emotions, as well as some recommendations, some reminders, some disclaimers, and just certain things that you should be aware of. So starting off with the introduction, the first disclaimer is knowing that your feelings are always going to be valid. All right? You have to learn how to validate your emotions. You have to validate your negative emotions, your positive emotions, the good emotions, and the bad emotions. And the main reason it's so imperative for you to validate your emotions is because you are a human being and you're allowed to feel. Just because you have emotions doesn't mean that you have to beat yourself up, or that life has to be challenging, or that life even has to be difficult. But what it means is that when you're going through certain situations, when you're being exposed to certain opportunities, it's really important to pay attention to how certain situations are affecting you, because there's a reason why you feel the way you do. So the second disclaimer is knowing that as you're learning to validate your emotions, that you're allowing yourself the grace and the patience to do so. You are a human being, and if you haven't been taught emotional intelligence, if you haven't been able to articulate yourself and express yourself and feel comfortable without judgment or being perceived, or without shame and doubt and fear, you will automatically suppress how you feel. And when you suppress how you feel, you deny your reality, you deny yourself, you can become insecure, you can become envious, and you can become very doubtful. And that's what we don't want to do. In order for you to regulate your emotions and validate your emotions, you have to accept the fact that maybe you weren't taught and shown, maybe you weren't given the opportunity to express yourself. Maybe you weren't able to be confident. Maybe you weren't always able to be seen and heard. Maybe nobody believed in you. Maybe people gaslighted you, manipulated you. You have to be able to be okay with how you feel, because at the end of the day, nobody is you. And nobody could tell you how to feel, especially when they don't go through the things that you're going through, or have been through the things that you went through, or take the time to sympathize and empathize with you. And that's going to be the third disclaimer. Not everyone has the emotional capacity or the emotional intelligence to sympathize and empathize with people, simply because some people haven't gone through certain things, or simply because some people don't care. So if nobody cares, or if nobody's there for you, you have to be there for you. You have to understand why you feel challenged and triggered when you see certain people do things, or why you see certain people say things, and etc. So the fourth disclaimer is knowing that when it comes to you identifying your emotions and you regulating your nervous system and you expressing yourself, you have to be honest, you have to be vulnerable. Not everything, not everybody is going to be in alignment with you. It's not even the fact that people dislike you, it's just they're not for you, they're not compatible with you. So for example, on this account, I talk about mental health, I talk about positivity, I talk about healing, I talk about evolution, I talk about high vibes, I talk about love. Not everybody in the world is going to be in alignment or connected. There are people in this world who support this account. They engage, they comment, they like, because it's in alignment with them. There are some people in this world who watch and they have negative things to say. It's not for them, or it is for them, but they're too egotistical, they're too prideful, or they're too insecure to like, comment, or engage. You have to know your audience. Because when you know what you like, when you know how you feel, you're not worried about being a people pleaser. You're not worried about people judging you. You're not worried about people having negative things to say. You're not worried about projections and deflections. In order for you to identify why you feel triggered or challenged, you have to know how you feel, and that's going to be part of the first recommendations. You have to start paying attention to why you react or respond to the things that you're doing. Now, a lot of times, it's simply because it's not for you. a lot of times it is for you. So for example, if you like these videos, you're commenting, you're engaging, a lot of times, more than likely, you're going to have positive things to say. You're going to engage. You're going to ask questions. You're going to be following. You're going to have your notifications on. You're always going to watch the video. If you feel challenged and triggered and it's negative, it's because you have some internal work to be doing. Maybe you're not as confident. Maybe you're not as vulnerable. Maybe you're not as committed. Maybe you're not as consistent. We as people know why we feel the way we do. It's just if we want to be honest and express ourselves. You have to be able to stand on what it is that you believe in and why you feel the way you do, because you're allowed to. Anybody who is not you, who doesn't get to take the time to get to know you or be patient with you, does not deserve you to constantly overreact or respond. And I'm speaking from experience. What has helped me along my healing journey and to identify how I felt when it came to certain people, places, and things was to ask myself if it was in alignment with me. Every single person and people and place or thing where I had to be a version of myself where I know that I didn't want to be was simply because they were not in alignment with me. So an example is, in my past, I've had to learn, one, how to express myself and communicate myself in ways to where people were able to comprehend what I'm saying. So learning to be patient and understanding everybody doesn't know what I know. I've also had to learn how to articulate myself and express myself without being so angry or so violent or so hostile or being aggressive or assertive, because once again, that's not who I am. I'm not naturally a mad person. I'm not naturally an angry person. I'm not naturally an assertive person. I'm not naturally belligerent. But what I've realized is that when people are hostile, when people don't know how to communicate, when people are used to yelling or people are used to fighting, they want you to feel the same way. They want you to react or respond the same way, and that's a no. And just because I've had to learn that over time doesn't make me a bad person. That's the same thing with you. If you know you're not a hostile person, if you know you're cool, calm, and collected, which you are because you're watching this video, and people try to provoke you and harass you, that doesn't make you evil, or it doesn't mean that you're not who you say you are because you've had to react or respond. You're a human. But in those moments, you have to start paying attention. People who are miserable want you to react and respond in a certain type of way. Every single miserable person that I've encountered wanted me to react and respond and to yell and be aggressive and be assertive. And I don't like that. I never have and I never will. And like I said, it's not for me. People who have negative things to say about me, you're not meant to be here. Nobody is telling you to be here. You're choosing to be here. That's on you. Instead of you being envious of people, instead of you trying to get people to react and respond, instead of allowing people to provoke you and harass you, pay attention to how it's making you feel and vice versa. If somebody wants you to constantly over-explain yourself, that person's not for you. They heard you the first time. You have to start paying attention to how you feel, because there's a reason why you're being triggered and challenged. So the second recommendation is allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling and ask yourself if you think this is true or if it's false. So for example, the people and the places and things who wanted me to get out of character, they wanted me to get out of character because they didn't have morals, they didn't have integrity, they didn't have respect for themselves. All the people who quote unquote thought they were sabotaging me or betraying me or gossiping about me, they had no respect for themselves. So I have asked myself, Ty Guidance, is this how we genuinely feel, or is this a projection? Is this a deflection? And 100% out of the times, it's always been projection and deflections. Now, I've had times where I have been aware of my energy and my emotions, and I've realized, okay, it is on me. But I know when it's on me, and I know when I'm being wrong. And that's the same thing with you. And it's so important, because if you don't know how to identify your own emotions, people will try to gaslight you. People will manipulate you. And that's why a lot of people are easily influenced. A lot of people are easily manipulated. A lot of people don't question what's being told. People do what they say. That's how people become people pleasers. That's how people become permanent victims. That's how people get taken advantage of. Because you don't have enough confidence or enough faith in yourself to realize what you like and what you don't like and what's for you and what's not, where you allow people to control you. And then because you're so worried about being liked, because you have attachment issues, abandonment issues, you want to be liked because you don't like yourself, you don't love yourself, you don't even know who you are, pay attention. And yes, even with me, I trigger a lot of and challenge people. Like a lot of people that watch my content, like I said, if you're not an OG subscriber, people are triggered. People are challenged. And the reason why they're triggered and challenged is because they don't communicate. They don't talk about how they feel. They are embarrassed. You are ashamed. You do feel intimidated. That's not my fault. That's on you. And the same thing with me. If I meet people, and I mean, I've not met a lot of people in my life who have, you know, made me feel any type of way, because I have always been secure of myself. But the some people, the few people, the very, very, very few, the poquito few people that I have met, I've had to learn from. So for example, my father, God bless him, he was somebody that made me feel some type of way. When I was a young Thai guidance, my dad used to make me feel some type of way because how he carried himself. So it wasn't the fact that I never felt like I couldn't be a good person, or I couldn't be obedient, or I couldn't follow rules. I just had to realize that the choices that I made when I was younger versus who I am now, it wasn't in alignment. It wasn't the right thing. So when I got around my father for the most of my life, who was for the most part a good person, made me feel some type of way. And it wasn't nothing that I needed to be envious of. It was nothing I needed to be embarrassed of or ashamed, because I've learned over time I wouldn't feel the way I did if I learned to work on myself. That's like when you're attractive. When you take care of yourself, and attractive is not just based off of like how you physically look, but for people who are shallow, let's go there. If you're a shallow person and you think being attractive is physical, and let's just say you're somebody who physically looks good and you're not, or you're somebody who you see people who are physically attractive and you feel like you physically don't look good, you're emotionally going to feel some type of way. And that's simply because of the reflection. People are either going to be a reflection or they're going to be a projection. Either or, it's really important for you to be able to discern what is yours and what's not, so therefore you can come up with solutions. So the third recommendation is being honest. It's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay if you don't always feel good about yourself, because there's a reason why. And a lot of times, like I stated, it stems from childhood trauma. It stems from not being secure in yourself. It stems from maybe not having the resources and the tools and the guidance and the wisdom and the finances. You know your situation. Whatever it is that you feel triggered by other people, acknowledge it. A lot of people are envious. A lot of people are bitter. A lot of people are miserable. Why? Because of how they were raised. Because of what they were given. Because of what they didn't have. You cannot continue to blame everybody else when it comes to your life, because at the end of the day, those people are going to move on and the day is going to end. It's really important that you learn to hold yourself accountable, and that's the fourth recommendation, because that's going to help you identify what it is that you are feeling. So if you do feel envy when you see other people, you need to ask yourself why. Why do you feel? And be honest. Like I said, just be honest. It's not a hard thing to do. Like, the only people who find things like this hard and difficult are people, like I said, who are not used to being real, or who don't genuinely know who they are, or people who try to sweep their problems underneath the rug. And over here, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. If you want things to be sugarcoated, you need to get some cotton candy. You have to be honest. If you feel triggered, you feel challenged, you need to ask yourself, why do I feel triggered? Why do I feel challenged? So therefore, lastly, the fifth and final recommendation, you can come up with a solution. Well, what can I do about it? So when I was a little girl and I used to feel some type of way about my dad, what could I do? I've learned to become a better person. My dad had very high standards. He had morals. He had integrity. He carried himself with class a certain type of way. He was also a September Virgo, for those of you who are into astrology. So as someone who did what they needed to do, when you're not doing what you know you could be doing, you feel some type of way. When you see people live the life that you want, instead of being envious of them, you need to be asking yourself, well, what can I do to get in this situation? How can I do better? Because if you're not even willing to do what you need to do, you don't have the right. Over here, I'm not condoning that type of energy. I don't condone people who are envious of people or who have negative things to say about people when you're not even trying to do what you need to do. It's one thing if you were never taught and shown. It's one thing if you've never been confident. It's one thing if you didn't have the support, the finances, the resources, and the tools. But you're watching this video, so you don't have any more excuses. It is July when this video is being uploaded. It's currently June when I'm recording this, but when you see this, or let me know when you're watching this, okay? So whatever questions, whatever comments, whatever concerns, let me know. Don't be afraid, don't be shy, because once again, you're here. Why are you here? Why is you here? Why is you here? Okay. Follow me on all my social media platforms. If you want me to go live talking about this in real time, drop the word live. If not, make sure you're booking yourself a single session. It's also in the description. But I love you. You are loved. You're not alone. Until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.